Okay, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the virtual public meeting for the draft 2021-2024 Transportation Improvement Program for the Southwestern Pennsylvania Commission for Allegheny, Beaver, Lawrence counties and the city of Pittsburgh. My name is Andy Waple. I'm the Director of Transportation at the Southwestern Pennsylvania Commission. So as many of you who may be tuning in will know, these meetings, this virtual public meeting takes the place of our in-person public meetings that we typically conduct during the TIP development process. We typically conduct 10 public meetings, one in each of our member counties, in support of the 30-day public comment period for the draft transportation improvement program. The public comment on the draft 2021-2024 program is currently underway through June 12th of 2020. It began on May 11th. And in 2019, the Southwestern Pennsylvania Commission adopted the region's official long-range transportation plan, SmartMoves for a changing region. This plan includes over $22.7 billion in investments for transportation priorities over the next 25 years. SmartMoves prioritizes programs and projects that advance the regional vision of a world-class, safe and well-maintained integrated transportation system that provides mobility for all, enables resilient communities, and supports a globally competitive economy. The region's long-range plan is implemented with a series of shorter-term investment plans known as Transportation Improvement Programs, or TIPs. Each TIP, like the one currently out for public review, is a step along that 25-year investment in our region's future. During the draft TIP period, over $5.6 billion in state and federal and local funds will be invested to improve our region's transportation system over the next 4 years. These online informational meetings are meant to give a high-level overview to the draft TIP document, and we encourage you to review the documents with respect to your community. We will provide links at the end of the presentation with all locations of the documents, as well as an online interactive mapping tool where you can leave comments on projects or the program as a whole. This graphic outlines the relationship between the long-range plan, the TIP, and project development with a series of feedback loops throughout the process across a number of areas. Areas in which we will discuss later tonight include public input, air quality, and environmental justice. As you can see, the transportation planning process begins with outlining a regional vision and developing strategies to advance that vision. Strategies are then prioritized and projects are selected for inclusion into the long-range plan. And as commented on earlier, the TIP is the primary implementation vehicle of the long-range plan. And with the TIP, it gives way to the project development process, and then system operations and maintenance of the transportation system. This is a general outline of the TIP development process. All in all, it's about 15 months. It includes many stakeholders in the public, as well as our partners from all 10 of our counties, the city of Pittsburgh, our 10 transit providers across the region, PennDOT, Federal Highway Administration, the Federal Transit Administration, and many advocacy groups, nonprofits, the general public, and other stakeholders in the business community. And as you can see from the flow chart, the process begins with public and stakeholder engagement. We'll talk about the mechanisms used to gather public and stakeholder engagement a little bit later, as well as ways you'll be able to comment on the draft program, as mentioned a little bit ago. So the TIP development work group, again, comprised of the counties, the city of Pittsburgh, transit providers, PennDOT, and others, take a look at all of the public comment that was gathered prior to the development of the TIP, including from the long-range plan that was just developed last year. Those public comments and input are analyzed by the work groups and are taken into account when we select projects into the draft program. Other considerations into the program are the transportation system needs, conditions of our transportation assets around the region, highways, bridges, transit systems, traffic signals, sidewalks, everything really including on the surface transportation network. We screen those through our long-range plan strategies and priorities. We then look at projects that are carried over from one program to another. Many large infrastructure projects take many years to develop through their various phases, including design, right-of-way, utilities, and into construction. So typically on some of the larger projects, they carry over across 1 or 2 or maybe 3 tip periods. We have a number of competitive funding programs using federal funds that are administered by the Southwestern Pennsylvania Commission. We run competitive processes open to municipalities and counties and nonprofits to solicit applications and award funding. And that leads into our draft program of projects. Those are reviewed by PennDOT Central Office in about the midpoint through the process. And then once those are approved by PennDOT Central Office in Harrisburg, we begin our air quality conformity analysis and environmental justice analysis, which we'll talk about a little later. And again, just as we start with the program, we end with public and stakeholder engagement, which brings us to this evening in this 30-day public comment period. Once at the conclusion of the 30-day public comment period, we'll develop a short report outlining all of the comments included and received during the period, and those will be included in the draft program that the Southwestern Pennsylvania Commission will vote on at their meeting at the end of June. So switching gears a little bit to funding. What you see here is a time series of funding from over the last decade. The orange lines represent the Highway and Bridge Program, and the gray lines represent the Public Transit Program. These are base funds, which means they're allocated to the region by the state and federal government, and they account for about 63% of the total TIP program. You will notice, looking at the orange line farthest to the right, that the Highway and Bridge Program is down about 20% as to what it was back in 2019. We're at about $1.25 billion, down from about $1.757 billion. This is due in part to a couple of reasons. One being a projected shortfall in gas tax revenues at the state level, and 2, a redirection of local national highway funds for projects within the 10-county region to the Commonwealth interstate system. It was determined, it was laid out at the beginning of the TIP process that as a Commonwealth, we need to get to an investment of $1 billion per year towards the interstate system, which is the program is managed out of central office in Harrisburg. So that resulted in a lower amount of national highway funds for every one of the planning regions across the Commonwealth, regions and organizations such as the Southwestern Pennsylvania Commission. Locally here, it meant 40% less of those types of funds for projects to fund projects on critical roadways in this region, such as Route 28, Route 422, Route 19, Route 51, etc. As you can see, the highway program, the transit program is fairly stable. Both the highway and bridge program and the transit program received a tremendous boost in funding as a result of the passing of Act 89 in 2013, which took effect for the 2015 program. And that transit funding has been much needed and has stabilized the program over the past four TIP processes. I will note that program is stable for this year and this year only. Provisions of Act 89 that require the Pennsylvania Turnpike Commission to pay PennDOT $450 million a year to help fund public transportation will sunset in 2022. And also, as noted, with the redirection of of funding to the interstate program, as well as projected revenues being lower in the state gas tax, the highway and bridge program is near pre-Act 89 levels, so near what it was in 2013. And that does not include the impacts that we are likely to see as a result of COVID-19 and the reduction of travel and the governor's stay-at-home orders. I will say that these next 3 slides where we outline our investment into the program, there will be negative effects at both state and federal revenues as a result of COVID-19. We don't know the full magnitude of those effects, and we'll be required to adjust the program as the effects become known. Currently, PennDOT is reporting there will be approximately $900 million in less in state funds for the remainder of 2020 and into 2021. So a number of the projects that you see on this program and in the next few slides here may be delayed, and they may take much longer than expected. And I will also note that all of the federal revenues used for the TIP development are estimates due to the expiration of the FAST Act. So that's the current federal transportation authorization bill, which is set to expire at the end of federal fiscal year 2020, which is September 30th of this year. With everything going on with COVID-19 and there's a presidential election in November, we may see a stimulus bill that injects some funding over the next 2 years into the highway and bridge program, as was done through the CARES Act for public transportation about a month ago. But we do not foresee any long-term reauthorization of the highway bill, at least for this year. It will probably be, at least for this year, a continuing resolution at funding levels at the FAST Act level, which are about $44 billion a year nationwide. I will also note that when the FAST Act was passed, Congress had to come up with about $70 billion in other funding that was not available through the Highway Trust Fund, because the Highway Trust Fund is funded through the federal gas tax, which has not been raised since 1993. It stands at 18.4 cents a gallon for gasoline and 21 cents a gallon for diesel. So jumping into our investments, at least for the time being for this program, as you can see, by far, the most invested category are bridges or bridge asset management, meaning taking care of our existing system and making sure that what is out there now is up to standards and safe to operate. As well as next is roads, asset management. So taking care of our existing system. We'll be investing approximately $199 million in operations and safety and $128 million in reconstruction and new capacity. Most of those, that $128 million is reconstruction. One large notable reconstruction project is the Route 28 Highland Park interchange in Allegheny County. And as you can see, $36 million in standalone multimodal and active transportation projects. That's not to say that there's not elements of active transportation, meaning bicycling and walking, and any of the other asset management, road or bridge or safety projects. Those are just standalone active transportation projects. On the public transit side, about $2.3 billion. As you can see, by far, the majority of that goes to operating and maintenance. And these are for the 10 transit operators across the Southwestern Pennsylvania Commission. By far, the largest amount of funding comes from the state for public transportation, about $1.586 billion. About a little over $2 billion of that $2.23 billion will go to the Port Authority of Allegheny County, which far and away accounts for the most transit trips in the region. About 62 million of the 65 million annual transit trips in the region are taken on the Port Authority. And again, mentioning the the payments from the Pennsylvania Turnpike Commission to PennDOT to fund transit. Most of those payments, out of that $450 million, go to SEPTA in southeastern Pennsylvania, the Philadelphia area, and the Port Authority of Allegheny County in our region. The Turnpike has made its April 30th quarterly payment of $112.5 million, and also has been granted a request to postpone its July quarterly payment of $112.5 million due to reduced toll revenues from the Turnpike system. And again, this provision of these Turnpike payments sunsets in 2022, where it'll take $450 million and drop that to only $50 million. And as it's currently written in the legislation, that $450 million gap will come from vehicle sales taxes. Also note that this funding chart that you see does not include the $162 million in federal transit funds that came into the region through the CARES Act back in April. In terms of state-managed discretionary and Pennsylvania Turnpike projects, the Pennsylvania Turnpike Commission accounts for over half of this funding category, these funding categories, at $988 million for the Turnpike Expansion Program. That's primarily two projects: the Southern Beltway from Route 22 to I-79, and the Monfayette Expressway from Route 51 into the Parkway East. And again, due to reduced travel and reduced toll revenues from the Turnpike system, it is reevaluating its 10-year capital plan. It initially called for investing about $6 billion, and that's being reevaluated as we speak due to reduced travel. It was reported a couple weeks ago that the Turnpike was experiencing about 20 million fewer trips since the second week of March due to the governor's stay-at-home order and the COVID-19 pandemic. We'll also note that the Turnpike pre-COVID-19 has reduced their 2019 to 2021 capital plan by 24%. So it is likely that, again, much as that we'll see maybe later on, that some of these projects may take much longer to implement than expected. Another large chunk of funding that's coming into the region is through the Interstate Maintenance Program that's, again, run out of PennDOT Central Office. We talked about that a little earlier, where the National Highway funds were being diverted to this program. We are seeing some of those funds back, and we'll talk about some example projects a little later on that are coming through that program. And also would like to note that the region picked up about $65 million in spike discretionary funding. That's another PennDOT Central Office program that's discretionary among the Secretary of Transportation. So again, shifting gears a little bit, just to kind of highlight a few projects in each of our counties that are advancing through the program. By no means is this a comprehensive list. These are just meant to be examples of some high-profile projects that are in one phase or another of development. Some are in design and right-of-way and utilities, and some may be advancing through construction. Again, we encourage everyone to take a look at the draft tip document for a comprehensive list of projects in each county. As you can see here, a good mix of projects for Allegheny County. We have a few projects on Route 28. Again, I mentioned the Highland Park Bridge interchange, a couple of trail projects, the Three Rivers Heritage Trail, the section in Brackenridge Borough. SPC has been working with Friends of the Riverfront in Allegheny County for many years on the Three Rivers Heritage Trail, and have successfully implemented. There's a piece in Etna right now that's under construction. And we have a section in Shaler that's looking at feasibility as we speak, a feasibility study. Preservation of the McKeesport Duquesne Bridge, Lebanon Church Road reconstruction, and the Spring Hill Road bicycle and pedestrian improvements. Projects located in the city of Pittsburgh, the Smithfield Street Bridge reconstruction, the 6th Street or Roberto Clemente Bridge rehabilitation, which is actually owned by Allegheny County, but located in the city of Pittsburgh. The downtown bus rapid transit project. There's a number of elements of the project funded through SPC's congestion mitigation and air quality program. And also just had a big announcement earlier this week with the Federal Transit Administration pledging $99.5 million to this project. So that was very welcome to see. It's been a lot of hard work on all parts and been in the works for a very long time. Some other high profile projects, Penn Avenue signal upgrades and South Hills Junction T-Station pedestrian improvements, as well as the Allegheny Riverfront Green Boulevard, a piece of that proposed trail going from the Strip to Lawrenceville. Into Beaver County, SR 3007 improvements to Broadhead Road. That is a critical road for and top priority for Beaver County. We'll be doing some roadway improvements there. A number of projects on SR 18 and SR 65. Some highway restoration on Route 51 and the Monaca Gateway Roundabout and Streetscape project, which is another one that's been in the works for quite some time. Projects in Lawrence County, SR 65 East Washington Street Bridge restoration, safety improvements to the North Country Trail, purchasing of some compressed natural gas buses for Newcastle area transit, and highway restoration on US 224 Youngstown Poland Road. We talked about interstate projects, some high profile projects on the interstates around the Allegheny County and Lawrence County, in Beaver County, I-376 Parkway East, the commercial replacement of the Commercial Street Bridge, and highway resurfacing from Edgewood to Monroeville. On the Parkway West, I-376 West, reconfigurations of the Banksville, Green Tree, and Carnegie interchanges, as well as I-79 Neville Island Bridge rehab and improvements to the I-79 SR 910 interchange. And last, in terms of projects in the presentation, projects on the Pennsylvania Turnpike, replacement of the Beaver Bridge and reconstruction and widening from 4 lanes to 6 lanes from Cranberry to Pine and from Pittsburgh to Irwin. Again, just as the other projects, just to reiterate, these projects may very well be pushed off this program and into subsequent programs. And may be delayed for quite some time, especially the two. The Southern Beltway is pretty far underway, but especially the Mon-Fayette Expressway project, which may be delayed for some time. One of our federal requirements is to examine air quality conformity, so to make sure that the projects that we're proposing in our program do no harm to air quality and are underneath the projected air quality emission thresholds that the U.S. Department of Environmental Protection sets. So this is the Pittsburgh Beaver Valley non-attainment area for ozone that you can see there in blue. And the two charts on the screen, one is for volatile organic compounds, or VOCs, and the other one is for nitrogen oxide, or NOx. The dashed line at the top of both charts are the EPA allowed thresholds, and the solid lines with the triangles on the bottom of both charts are the projected vehicle emissions for the projects that are being proposed through this program. And as you can see, both of those, the projected emissions are well below the EPA thresholds going out to 2045. Same can be said for the particulate matter 2.5 air quality area designations. The Pittsburgh Beaver Valley non-attainment area again, the top line, again here it is a solid line with diamonds on both charts for NOx and PM 2.5. And the bottom line, again, the emissions, a solid line with triangles for the programs that we're proposing through the program. Again, much lower than the allowed emission threshold set by the US EPA. Environmental justice. This is analysis that we're required to undertake to identify disproportionately high and adverse human health or environmental effects in our programs, policies, and activities as they pertain to low income and minority populations. This analysis ensures social equity in programming transportation investments, including full and fair participation by all potentially affected communities in the decision-making process. We're required to analyze our investments in proximity to low income and minority populations. And as you can see here, we have two graduated color maps, one for low income and one for minorities with all of the mappable projects overlaid on top of them. In terms of low income, 54% of the highway and bridge investment is located in low income areas, and 33% of the highway and bridge investment in minority designated EJ census blocks. In the low income, that's 39% of all projects, and in minority, 25% of all projects. Just to touch on the public engagement that we've undertaken prior to this 30-day public comment period. Our SPC committees meet monthly. Those are open to the public. We routinely do email blasts to our counties and all of the 548 municipalities throughout the region. We conduct 2 rounds of public participation panel meetings. We conducted one back in the fall, a round of 10 meetings, one in each of our counties, and routinely post to our social media, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. At the beginning of the process, the State Transportation Commission, in anticipation of their development of the 12-year plan, puts out a statewide survey asking for folks to input their priorities and locate areas of concern on their map, on an interactive map. For this region, we had 600 plus comments come out of that process. And once we started to dig into those, we figured out that 95 of those comments were already being addressed by existing or projects that were already planned to be on the program. And then, as I had mentioned previously, we had just adopted our long-range transportation plan for the region just about a year ago. And through that, we just did a tremendous amount of public outreach and engagement, which resulted in over 22,000 points of engagement that ranged from project suggestions to investment priorities to higher level policies and strategies in the region. We took all of those into account when developing this program. And that was mentioned back in the TIP development process, where we screen each one of our projects and investment categories against the 24 strategies in the long range plan. If you want to learn more about that, you can visit our long range plan webpage on our website, and it's Appendix 3 of the SmartMoves document. So how do I comment on this public comment period? The draft TIP documents are available for review and comment on the SPC website through June 12th. You can review and comment on projects through an interactive mapping tool. There's also a TIP development story map that kind of hits a lot of the same points as we talked about today, but with a little more in depth. And again, it's a series of interactive maps that tell a story. We also accept comments via US mail and email. We want to make sure that folks that aren't comfortable with technology are able to submit comments as well. The meetings and the draft comments were advertised in newspapers throughout the region. And also will be, as we're listening to and conducting tonight, virtual public meetings. These are being recorded and they're available on our website as well as our YouTube channel. So the Draft Tip Review Hub, it's our website, www.spcregion.org. That'll take you to our homepage. And if you scroll down about halfway through the page, you'll see that little orange box, the same one you see on the screen right now. Click on that and it'll take you to all of the various tip documents, all of the project lists, the story maps, as well as the interactive map where you can go in and place comments on particular projects or the program as a whole. And I will say that really, it's unfortunate the timing of this draft program and our public involvement process. We really value getting out to each one of our counties and working closely with our county planning directors and city planners to really get out and learn what the issues are in our counties. The SPC region is very large. It's 10 counties, a little over 7,500 square miles, 548 municipalities. We can't possibly know what's going on in every corner of the region. That's why we really like to get out and talk to folks and learn what's going on in their areas and see how we can help. And again, we really rely on and appreciate all of the assistance of our PennDOT districts to help us learn what's going on in the counties, because their maintenance folks are out there every day and know the counties probably better than anybody, as well as the county planners. I mean, they're just an invaluable resource in connecting us to all of the municipal officials and municipalities across the region. And we want to thank all of them for their assistance and support in putting this document together. So again, we really encourage everybody listening and everybody that will listen to this to review the documents, think about it in context of your community and what the needs of your community are, and leave us comments, and also share the page, share the links with your friends, your family, your colleagues, because transportation really affects everybody. I mean, it goes, when we decide where we want to live or where we want to work, a transportation is a prime consideration in how we get from one place to another, whether you're riding a bus or driving a car or riding a bike or walking. It plays a very, very important role in everyone's lives. And it's very important to get everybody's perspectives on how we should be investing our funding, as limited as it may be, and may continue to get even more so into the future. It's really important that we hear everybody's voice in how we invest those funds. So with that, that concludes the formal presentation for this evening. I do have a statement that was sent in to me by the Allegheny County Public Works Director Steve Shanley. He and the other Allegheny County Transportation Planner are out working the polls tonight in Allegheny County. So I just want to read a quick statement from Director Shanley that was submitted. I would like to thank PennDOT and SPC for your support through the development of the 2021-2024 TIP. We have completed a lot of critical projects together during previous TIP cycles. Unfortunately, many of our future projects will be a challenge to fund given the COVID-19 shutdown's impact on federal and state budget, as well as the federal funding focused on the interstate system. A couple of critical projects include the Roberto Clemente Bridge adjacent to PNC Park, which is the last of the sister bridges to be rehabilitated. We currently have a funding shortfall of around $9 million. We also have a shortfall of $11.7 million for our Campbell's Run Road reconstruction project. We look forward to working with our partners at PennDOT District 11 and SPC to overcome challenges, to repair and enhance our transportation infrastructure and continue to move this region forward. Thanks again for the great teamwork. So again, statement from Allegheny County Public Works Director Steve Shanley. We have a number of representatives on the phone from our various partner agencies. So now being that the formal presentation is concluded, I'll open it up to anybody on the Zoom meeting here who would like to make any remarks or any comments. If there's anybody on there, just please use the raise your hand icon and I'll unmute you. Okay. Seeing none. Again, thank you everybody for attending. We really appreciate the support, and again we encourage everybody to go out and take a look at all of the various documents on the website and submit comments either via email, US mail, or through the comment form that's listed on the website. Again, thank you. My name is Andy Waple. I'm the Transportation Planning Director at SPC, and that concludes the presentation. Thank you very much.